start with the Gita Dhyanam. Om Parthaye Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayan Swayam Vyasen Grathitam Puran Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritvarshinim Bhagavati Mashtadashadhyayani Am Twam Anusandhami Bhagavat Gite Bhavadveshine Namo Astute Vyas Vishal Buddhe Full Arvind Ayat Patra Netar येन तव्या भारत तैलपूर्णः प्रज्वलितो ज्ञानमया प्रदीपः प्रपान्न पारिजाताय तोत्र वेत्र एकपानये ज्ञान मुद्राय कृष्णाय गीता अमृत दुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपाल नंदना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोगता दुग्धम गीता अमृतम महत वसुदेव सुतं देवं कंस चानूरमर्दनम देवकी परमानंदम कृष्णम वंदे जगद्गुरुम भीष्म द्रोण तटा जयद्रथ जला गांधार नीलोत्पला शल्य ग्राहवती कृपेन वहने कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण घोर मकरा दुर्योधन आवर्तने सोतीर्णा खलु पांडवै रन्नदी क्यवर्तका केशवा पाराशरे वत्सरोजमलं गीता अर्थगंधोटकम नानाख्यानक केसरम हरिकथा संबोधन अबोधितम लोके सज्जन षटपदे रह पे पिए मानम याद भारत पंकजम कलिमल प्रध्वंसी न श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुम लंघ्यते गिरिम यत्कृपातमं वन्दे परमानंद माधवम यम ब्रह्म वरुण इंद्र रुद्र मरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्ये स्तवे वेदै सांग पद क्रमोपनिषदै गायन्ति यम सामगा ध्यानवस्ते तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यम योगिनो यस्यन्तं न विदुसुर असुर गना देवाय तस्मै नमः. We are on chapter 18, the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And last week we saw that Arjuna is asking Lord Krishna that I would like to know the difference between Tyag and Sanyas. Tyag is abandonment and Sanyas is the renunciation. He says, I would like to know clearly what does it mean. And Lord Krishna gave the answer. And how did he say that? He said the sages understand sannyas to be the renunciation of works with desire. The wise declare the abandonment of the fruits of all actions as tyag. Okay, so tyag is a stepping stone for a sannyas. So sannyasi doesn't have any desire. No desire at all. Renunciation of works with the desire. That doesn't mean renunciation of work. Action he still does, but no personal desire at all. And the tyagi is no particular fruit. There could be a desire, I want to do a sattvic action. So desire can be there in a tyagi, but in a sannyasi, not even that. So that's why you cannot be a sannyasi without being a tyagi. Okay, so just like we need to know the alphabet before we can learn how to write. So tyag, that we need to cultivate in our personality if we want to become sannyasi. Okay, and according to the Vedic way of life, in 100 years of lifespan, last 25 years should be as a sannyasi if you want to attain moksha. Sannyasi, that's why it's called a sannyas ashram, the last stage in life. Okay, but first we got to know what that sannyas is. Then in verse number 3, Lord Krishna says, all actions should be abandoned as evil, declare some philosophers. So some people do say all the actions. But the others say the acts of sacrifice, gift and austerity should not be relinquished. So he's talking about different philosophies over here in verse number 3. Now in verse number 4, he says, listen to me what I am teaching you. He says, Nishchayam Shrinu me tatra tyage bhart satam tyaga hi purush vyagraha trividha samprakirtita. Nishchayam, that means a conclusion, the final truth, according to this teacher. Shrinu, here. Me means my, tatra means there. Tyage, about tyag, about abandonment. Bharat Satam, the best of the Bharats. Arjun belonged to a Bharat dynasty. So, he says, you are the best among the Bharats. Tyagaha, tyag, abandonment. He means verily, Purush Vyagra, the best of men. Vyagra means a tiger, tiger among the men, the best among the men. Trividha, of three kinds. Samprakirtitaha, has been declared. So Lord Krishna is saying, hear from me the conclusion or the final truth about this Tyag, O best of the Bharats. Tyag, verily, O best of men, has been declared to be of three kinds. So now he's going to elaborate on these three kinds of Tyag. So very scientifically, very logically, he is going to explain what constitutes Tyag. Under what headings this spirit of Tyag can be considered? So it's not just a indulgence in the literary curiosity, but it's a very definite technique to be practiced and followed. Because for a mortal mind, a material mind, giving up is not easy. Acquisitions are the very life breath of our mind. We want to acquire more. We want to acquire possessions. We want to acquire ideas. We want to acquire the relationships, the objects. So that's why I said giving up is not an easy task. So that's why Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, he's invoking this spirit in him. He says, you are best among the Bharats. You are tiger among men. So he's encouraging him, you can do it. Because it's only by giving up the lower desires that we can cultivate the higher aspirations. If we just stayed attached to the lower desires, how are we going to rise up? So Tyag for purposes of study and understanding is threefold according to Lord Krishna. Because we have seen earlier also, this threefold classification Lord Krishna has been following. For food also, for dana also, for the yajna also, for the austerity also. Threefold classifications again and again. And that's what we're going to see over here. Okay. And what is that threefold? Sattvic, Rajasic, and Tamasic. We are all familiar with these terms. Okay. Yajna dan tapaha karamna tyajyam karyam ev tat. Yajna danam tapacha ev pavanani manishinam. So we are familiar with these terms, yajna, dan, tap. Yajna is the worship, dan is the charity, tap is the austerity. Karam, action. So acts of worship, charity, and austerity. No means not tyajyam should be abandoned. Karyam should be performed. Ev means indeed, that means that. Then the second line, yajna, danam, tapaha. Again, these three words. Cha means and, ev means indeed. Pavanani, purifies. See, this is the reason we must do them, because they purify us. Manishinam, of the wise. So acts of worship, charity, and austerity should not be abandoned, but should be performed. Okay, so he is emphasizing on that we should not let them go, but we must perform. Why? Because worship, charity, and also austerity are the purifiers of even the wise. Even the wise, those people keep on doing it too. So we must do that. So should not be abandoned. Because when we properly pursue them, we really bring a very brilliant discipline in our personality. And this discipline is the only one which create a condition in us to move into the higher realm of spirituality. It unfolds a different kind of a dimension in our personality so that we can finally experience the infinite which we are. That's how important it is. So it purifies even the thoughtful people, the wise people. They can discover an endless amount of inner peace and balance. And we can see that whenever we worship, we bring peace inside us. Whenever we give something, help somebody else, the act of charity, we detach from the material clingingness. And when we do the tap also, austerity, any kind of austerity, it purifies us. It could be a physical, mental, verbal. We learned all this in the last chapter. So then in the next verse, he tells us how we can perform these. Etani api tu karmani sangam tyaktva falani cha kartavyani iti me part nishchitam matam uttamam. Etani, these means these three. Yagya, dan and tap. Api means even, tu means but, karmani actions. Sangam, attachment. Tyaktva, leaving. Falani, fruits. Cha means and. Kartavyani should be performed. Kartavya means a duty. It's your duty to do it. Iti means das, me means my, Parth is Arjun. Nishchitam, certain. Matam, belief. Uttamam, best. But even these actions should be performed leaving aside attachment and the fruits. O Parth, this is my certain and best belief. Okay, so he says, this is my belief. Should not let them go, but let go of the attachment and fruits also. So he's qualifying his statement by revealing the proper attitude with which all these actions should be performed. See, the attitude behind the action is very important. So these actions, namely yagya, dan and tapa, should be performed, leaving attachment and the fruits. How do we get attached? An ego and its desires are the component parts of the attachment. Ego. Ego is what? Identification with less than who I am. If I identify myself with the body, with my status, with my accomplishments, that's the ego. So all the desires are arising from there. So that's why I said an ego and its desires are the component parts of attachment. Because when an ego strives to fulfill its own burning desires, it just comes to live in a certain kind of a relationship with the world of things and objects around. And that's what's called attachment. This is a let go of that. So this attachment is considered on the path of spirituality a poison. And this is a very unintelligent way of living. It's very self-destructive. That's why the anxiety comes. So we got to learn to let go of this if we want to move up on the path of spirituality. To be rid of attachment and to be free from anxieties regarding the fruits, that itself is a reward actually. No burden. No matter what you do it for the sake of doing it. No anxiety, no burden. This is what again and again Lord Krishna is teaching us. Let go of attachment to the fruit. To live this way of action is to assure for ourselves a very healthy inner equipment. That's how this self-guidance is coming in our way. So right from the beginning, Lord Krishna said, let go of the fruits or attachment to the fruit, anxiety about the fruit. And over here in the 18th chapter, again, he's telling us. So now in the next verse, he tells us what is a tamsik tyag. Because he mentioned three kinds of tyag, tamsik, rajsik, sattvic. Tamsik tyag we don't want to do, but first we got to know what is a tamsik tyag. Niyatasya tu sanyasa karmana na upadyate mohat tasya parityaga tamsa parikirtita. Niyatasya. Niyat work is a obligatory actions. There are certain obligations we have because we are in this body. It's our obligation to take care of this body, to clean this body, to feed this body. Then we have obligations towards the family. Then we have obligations towards the country. Then we have obligations towards all these devatas. Earth, fire, water, air, space. Those are called niyat karam. Tu means verily, sanyasa renunciation, karmana of action, na upapadyate. Na means not, upapadyate means is proper. Mohat from delusion, tasya of the same, parityaga, abandonment, tamsa, tamsik, parikirtita is declared. Verily, the renunciation of obligatory actions is not proper. So that means obligatory actions must do. So he says the renunciation of obligatory actions is not proper. The abandonment of the same from delusion is declared to be tamsik. So he said that is a tamsik tyag if you don't even do your obligatory actions. You say, no, I don't want to cook for myself or earn for myself or pay my own taxes or take care of my family because I'm a tyagi. I'm going to go out and just beg. That's a tamsik tyag according to Lord Krishna. Going out with a begging bowl is a tamsik tyag. So abandonment of obligatory duties is considered by the Lord as the lowest and the darkest of the tyag. Because we have daily duties and we have special duties. So both of these duties are unavoidable. So daily also, special also, these are called niyat karam. So we have duties towards ourselves, duties towards the society also. As long as we are a member of the society, enjoying the social life, demanding protection and profit from the society, we have no right, according to the Hindu or the Vedic code of living, to abandon our obligatory actions. Even if one abandons one's moral duties in ignorance, One is not excused. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. If I go on the road and I don't follow the traffic laws, I won't be excused. So the same way over here also, the laws of spirituality. We cannot say we didn't know. We cannot say that I'm not gonna do them anymore because I'm a tyagi. If we call ourselves a tyagi and don't do our duties, we are tamsik. So out of ignorance and lack of proper thinking, if a person ignores his obligations and refuses to serve the world he is living in, that abandonment is called tamsik. Okay? What is a rajsik tyag then? दुखम इति एव यत्करम काय क्लेश भयात त्यजेत सकृत्वा राजसं त्यागम न एव त्याग फलम लभेत. Dukham, painful. Iti means thus, ev means even, yat means which, karam, action. Kaya kalesh bhayat, from fear of bodily trouble. Tyajet, abandons. Sa means he, kritva, performing. Rajasam, rajsik, tyagam, tyag, abandonment. Na ev, not even. Tyag phalam, the fruit of abandonment, labhet, obtain. So this verse, verse number 8, is giving us a definition of a rajsik tyag. And throughout Gita, he's telling us to move towards the sattvic. So tamsik we don't want to do. Rajsik also we don't want to do. So let's learn what is a rajsik tyag. He who, from fear of bodily trouble, abandons action because it's painful. Thus, performing a rajasic abandonment obtains not the fruit of abandonment. So somebody may give up their individual obligatory duties because it's painful or through fear of bodily suffering. So just like in the morning, we are supposed to get up, do the exercise, do the meditation, do the prayers. We say, no, I'm going to just stay in the bed a little longer. So what you have given up is called a rajasik tyag. For the bodily pleasure, you gave up your duties. If you have a sick person in the house, or if you have an elderly parent in the house, and you have to get up at night, and you say, no, I don't want to get up at night because it's just too comfortable in my own bed, that's a rajasik tyag. Because it's a duty, our duty to take care of our parents. It's a duty to take care of, when the kids are little, for a parent to take care of the kids also. There are certain duties we all have. So the relinquishment or abandonment practiced this way falls under the Rajasic type. So this clearly shows that a person of action and passion will readily undertake an action to fulfill his obligatory duties as long as they are not painful. Okay? We don't want to get fatigued. That means we are Rajasic. Arjun himself, if we look at it, if we take our attention towards the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, he was hesitating to fight. The battle, which was his obligatory duty, he wanted to abandon it. He wanted to run away from it. So Arjun's relinquishment of this duty could be considered as falling under the category of Rajasik Tyag. And Lord Krishna, as a guru, stopped him, convinced him. In a way, he is still convincing him at this point. Okay? So when we don't do our obligatory duties because we think, no, my body, I would rather just sit and be lazy. It's too painful for me to get up and do my own duties. That's a Rajasic Tyag. So, what is a Sattvic Tyag? Because Sattvic Tyag we must do. As a yoga students, Gita students, Sattvic Tyag. Karyam iti ev yat karam, niyatam kriyate arjuna, sangam tyaktva phalam cha ev satyaga satvika mataha. Who has a question?
Manju Malhotra.
Yes, Manju.
Yeah, namaste, Hersh, but here, I know I have heard so many times from you, but what is sounding confusing to me is that you're calling it tag, but you are not doing the tag anyway. So tag is when the action is, I mean, my understanding would be tamasic tag is I want to give up something because I want some evil return, for that giving up. And the Rajasic tag would be, okay, it's not evil, but yeah, hey, I want to get rich. So I'm going to give up this action so I can get rich or something. But in this, not tag, what like Arjun didn't want to fight.
Yeah, Arjun didn't want to fight.
But it's so, Rajasic tag would be, he had to give in. I mean, it's not tagging. I mean, he didn't want to do anything.
Yeah, he didn't want to do his duty because it was too painful.
Yeah. So, but how would it be considered tyag anyway? That's my
Tyag
question.
means he didn't want to. He wanted to run away from his duties. That's why it's a tyag.
Yeah, but normally we say tyag, like, I'm going to give up eating sweets or meat, say meat, because,
No,
not because of him.
Tyag means tyag of the actions, karam.
Oh, only for karam.
Karam. Tyag of the karam.
Okay.
So that's why a tamasic is that.
Okay. Yeah, I get it.
You are not doing your duties out of delusion.
Right. Yeah.
Deluded.
You're lazy or something.
If you are
that
not deluded, you know what your duties are, but you would rather sit
and not do.
Yeah, in a comfort, in your own comfort zone, and not do the duties.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I
it's
misunderstood.
the duties. That's
okay.
What
I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So let's look at the Sattvic Tyag, because that, see, Tyag we must do. But he says, do the Sattvic Tyag. Only Sattvic Tyag will propel us upward towards the sannyas. Ultimately, we have to become sannyasi. Okay. So, but from a tamasic tyag, we cannot become a sannyasi. Tamasic and rajasic, it will take us further down. Only a sattvic tyag. That's why it's very important to understand. Tyag is necessary, but a sattvic kind of a tyag. He says, karyam iti ev yat karam, niyatam kriyate arjuna, sangam tyaktva phalam cha ev satyaga sattvika mataha. Karyam ought to be done. Iti means thus, ev means even, yat means which, karam means action. Niyatam, obligatory, kriyate is performed, Arjuna. Sangam, attachment, tyaktva, abandoning, phalam, fruit, cha means and, ev means even, sa means that, tyagaha, abandonment, satvik mata, regarded as satvik. Whatever obligatory action is done, O Arjun, merely because it ought to be done. Abandoning attachment and also fruit. That abandonment is regarded as sattvic. So in other words, it's not the action which we are abandoning, it is the fruit, attachment to the fruit, or even sometimes attachment to the action. I must do it. That attachment shouldn't be there either. So first we got to know what our obligatory duties are. See, most of the people, they are not even clear about that. What is my obligation? The parents teach us this, but if parents don't even know that, we don't know. If parents have done a good job, then Guru can work on them after that. But if parents did not do a good job, that field is not even ready to even go to a Guru or even get the guidance from a Guru. So karyam, that word is very key word over here. So for us to understand the sattvic variety, the action which must be done, it could be for our own family, it could be for the community, or it could be a work in any field. There are many and many examples like this. So real tyag means doing actions with the proper mental attitude. It is not so much as what should be relinquished, but as to how we must abandon and in which field we must act. So in short, Lord Krishna's concept of tyag condemns abandonment of the world and our duties in it. This is what the Vedic philosophy is. Live with your families, work in your inner equipment. Don't run out of your families. Don't become a monk. Lord Krishna did not become a monk. No avatar from the Vedic tradition is a monk. Householders, do your duties and become a sannyasi while doing your duties and cultivate these qualities in your inner equipment. So tyag is a subjective renunciation of all inner selfishness and desire. Because selfishness and the desires, personal desires, they limit the freedom of the individual in the field of activity. So keep on reducing, keep on pruning the selfish desires. Me and mine, we need to get rid of. It is something like a field of, in a field of activity, something like the renunciation of a hunger by positively taking the food. So in these three verses, Tamsik, Rajsik, and Sattvic, nowhere Lord Krishna said, abandon your actions. He is telling us how to do the actions with a proper state of mind. Tyag makes an active person a more potential worker in the world. Okay, that because the energy which was being dissipated from the selfishness, me and mine, you use that energy into doing the actions properly. That's why it just makes you a potential worker. That's why these verses earlier we learned what is a yogi. Yoga karma sukoshalam. Where does that skillfulness comes from? The energy which you save, which was going into the selfishness, me and mine, you are putting it into the right perspective. That is a yogi. So acting in the world outside, renouncing both the ego and the egocentric desires. That's how the individual comes to exhaust all the vasanas. And that's how the inward purity grows. Because these vasanas are the one which are really keeping a darkness on our self. See, self or the soul or the spirit or the Atma, whatever the name we give, it's part of God. It is all bright, all beautiful, all loving. But how is it covered? It's covered with the vasanas. And by living a life of a sattvic tyagi, we just keep on removing this darkness. We don't have to go to a different place. We don't have to do anything different. Just do your duties properly. You will see the inward beauty will shine. Okay, so just remember this very important 3 verses. We will see that again and again. We would like to become little lazy. Laziness is tamasic. Don't be lazy. Be clear about what you are supposed to do and do it with the right motive. It's a motive behind the action which is more powerful. Okay. Then he says in the next verse, number 10, Na dveshti akushalam karma, kushlena anushajyate, tyagi sattva samavishta, medhavi chinna sanshaya. Na dveshti does not hate. Akushalam, disagreeable. Karam actions, kushle, to an agreeable. Na anushajyate, not attached. Tyagi, the abandoner. Sattva samavishta, pervaded by purity. Medhavi, intelligent. Chin sanshaya, with his doubts completely removed. So over here he is again telling us when you are fully established in the sattvic tyag, what is happening? The tyagi soaked in purity. Satav samavishta. That means more and more. And again, there's a work need to be done to become this kind of a tyagi, sattvic tyagi to the utmost level. So the tyagi soaked in purity, being intelligent, medhavi, with all his doubts removed, hates not disagreeable action, nor is he attached to an agreeable action. So the actions, whatever the person is doing, whatever is happening in the outer field, no effect on that person inwardly. This happens, then we can say we are soaked in purity. So established in sattvic, this person does not hate, nor does he ever feel attached. That means he is not miserable in disagreeable environment. Because outer environment, sometimes it's agreeable, sometimes it's not agreeable. And he does not get attached to the circumstances or the schemes of things which are agreeable. Because he understands this is a outer. Outer, see, there are two worlds we live in, outer world and inner world. Outer world is hardly in our hand. Hardly. Inner world should be in our control. All this what we are learning, it's about the inner world. My mind should be in my control. See, just like the house also, we can sure control, have some kind of a control in our own environment in the house, but can we really control the outer environment? Whether there's a snowstorm or whether there's a hurricane or whether there's a heat wave, we don't have much control. Inside we can control a little bit, but this inside should be fully in our control. That's a yogi's life. So he does his duties under all circumstances, agreeable or disagreeable, without feeling elated when he finds himself on the peaks or feeling dejected when he discovers himself in the pits of life. That is the message we are getting. So that means he is overwhelmed neither by extreme joy nor by extreme suffering. So that means there's an equanimity, there's a samata. That becomes his essential nature. Because normally, what do we say? A person who just jumps up with a good news and just goes into the bottom pit with a bad news. Or even without any news, going up and down like this, what do we say? That person does not have a good mental control. A yogi's mind is equanimous. And that comes from a sattvic tyag. So he stands on a rock, ever at ease, and watches with an unbroken balance of vision. Because outside things, they will go up and down at all times. But he is independent of the happenings in the outer world around him. This is the sadhana we must do if we want to reach little bit to the upper steps on this ladder of spirituality. When to such a person of sattvic tyag, impulses like jealousy, anger, passion, greed, those kind of impulses come, the yogi does not get involved in these impulses. We do because we are attached to it. We identify with them. We put too much attention to what somebody said, somebody did. Yogi does not. He does not become a victim of his own mental impressions, which is called vasanas. A tyagi is he who has cultivated this habit to live intelligently in life. So this is called intelligence. According to Lord Krishna, this is intelligence. That's why he used this word medhavi. Medhavi. Medha Shakti is not merely the intellect's power of understanding or reasoning or arguing. Medhavi Shakti is the intellect's faculty to memorize and retain things also. That means a very steady kind of understanding. And we must have a constant memory of these four things. Then we can say we have a Medhavi Shakti. What are these memory of four things? The constituents of the field of his activity. That's number one. Because action we must do. Tyagi is doing the actions. So Sattvic Tyagi wants to know what the constituent of the field of the activity is. The second thing he always remembers, the instruments through which he contacts the world outside. And what are instruments? They're all in this body. Our Gyanindriya, Karmindriya, through them we are constantly contacting this world outside. They should be in our control. Number three, he remembers that his own essential, infinite divine nature. That means never forgetting, using the instruments, working with the field, never forgetting who you are. And the fourth thing is his exact relationship with the world of objects. Relationships also, we should know. What is my relationship in this situation? Should I say it? Should I do it? Should I keep a low key? Is it my duty or not? So these four things, if a person can remember and use this, Lord Krishna says, he's a medhavi person. Medhavi, a man of a firm understanding. And a sattvic person knows it all. That's why he said, medhavi chil sanshaya. There's no doubt. in his mind at all. There's no doubt in his mind, I am part of God. No doubt in mind, these are my instruments given to me to use them properly. This is my duty, how to act and still stay detached. It's a beautiful verse. Try to see how much you can practice this. See, ultimately, if you don't practice all this, it's of no use. It's not memorizing of these verses, it's bringing this knowledge, this wisdom into practice. So the tyagi soaked in purity. So today what we learned, we don't want to be a tamsik tyagi, we don't want to be a rajsik tyagi, but we want to be a satvik tyagi and we want to become a topmost satvik tyagi. So tyagi soaked in purity, being intelligent, we want to become intelligent also. We want to have this medha shakti of ours to rise up and up. With all his doubts removed, hates not disagreeable action, nor is he attached to agreeable action. To this kind of a person, has to clean the gutters, that's okay. Has to teach a class on meditation, that's okay too, but no attachment. One day it could be cleaning the floor and next day it could be teaching. Does not even matter. It's just action. Because this kind of a yogi never forgets, I am Atma. This is my duty. And I'm doing the duty because I'm supposed to do the duty because I have gotten so much from this material world. I need to give back whatever comes. So that's why it never gets attached to the actions or to the fruits of the action. Remember that. It's a very important thing to remember from this segment of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so any question, comment? Anybody, Jyoti? Nobody?
Not
Okay.
yet. Not yet.
Okay, all right. So today is Sunday, so we would like to have a bhajan also. But if nobody has a question, then
You want to do the Shanti part?
yeah, I'll do the Shanti part also. But if no question, maybe I'll like to do one more verse also. Okay.
Maybe.
So so this is number 11. Nahi de bhrita shakyam tyaktum karmani asheshata ya tu karma phal tyagi satyagi iti abhidhiyate. Na means not, he means verily, deha bhrita, by an embodied being. That means having this body, and which we all have, deha bhrit, shakyam, possible, tyaktum, to abandon, karmani, actions, asheshta, entirely. Ya means who, tu means but, karam phal tyagi, a relinquisher of the fruits of action. Sa means he, tyagi, abandoner. Iti means thus, abhidhiyate is called. Verily, it is not possible for an embodied being to abandon actions entirely. And we all know that. Okay, if somebody says, no, I don't want to do anything, I don't want to eat anything either, I'm going to just sit. Sitting is an action too. Somebody says, okay, all right, I won't sit, I'll sleep. Sleeping is an action too. Breathing is an action too. So that's why he's saying it's not possible for an embodied being to abandon actions entirely. But he who relinquishes the fruits of actions is verily called a tyagi. So again, look at how much effort these gurus have gone through to make it totally clear for us. Again and again, they are telling us, must be very important. Understand it, then practice it. So actions we cannot give up entirely because we are in a karam yoni. But use this intellect of yours. What kind of actions you need to do? But let go of the fruits of the action. Attachment to the fruits of the action. It's not that fruits don't come, but your mental attachment, mental slavery towards the fruits of actions. We got to let that go. We got to have this kind of a discipline in all our actions. It's like a way of living where there's a harmony in our inner life and a very dynamic rhythm in the outer world. Okay, so we can definitely learn to practice this kind of a tyag, clinging attachment and anxieties for the fruits of our actions. It's like abandoning the thirst to enjoy the fruits of our actions. Because a lot of times we don't even do the action, we just keep thinking about what will I get out of it. But over here, Lord Krishna is saying, even while doing or after doing, do not take your mind to the fruit. Okay, then you are a sattvic tyagi. Yes, Jyoti.
Jonathan has a question.
Sure.
So, and
Let me do the Shanti part, then we can have some questions and then we'll have the bhajan also.
Okay.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Okay, then instruments through which we are contacting. So those are the instruments, our body, our organs. Then while doing all that, don't forget who you are. Atma. Never ever forget that. And the fourth one, I told you the exact relationship with the world of objects. Relationship, what is my relationship? So when we remember all these, and where is it coming from? From the Upanishads. Okay, Upanishads talk about it again and again, the details of it. See, Gita is also an Upanishad there, but there are other 108 Upanishads from the Vedas. All these diagrams are given over there when we study. Upanishads are the one which are telling us directly how to live this life intelligently. Okay? We should not let go of our duties, but we should not let go of our ultimate aim in life too. Okay? So that's why I just broke it down into 4 parts so that you understand what Medhavi. See, there is a word pragya for the intellect was used before. There is a word buddhi is used also. Okay, there are different levels of intellect. But when they use the word medhavi, that means all these 4 criteria in our personality should be present.
But I think I'm still having trouble understanding what the difference is between number 1 and number 4. So between understanding, remembering what your duty is. And
okay, number 1 is you should know what the field is. Number 4 is what your relationship is. Having a field and knowing what the relationship is, 2 different things. I know I have a car outside, but then I need to know what to do with the car. Okay, so it's just like broken it down into these pieces. That's what it is. Okay, see, normally we go through all this very fast. Whenever we do the work, we go through all this, but we are not paying much attention to each and every component to it. So that's why I broke it down. But if it confuses you, disregard it. Okay, the reason I just broke it down so that you understand it, that hey, work on each and every part of it to raise your level up in our outer field also, and at the same time connection with the real also. Okay, so anybody else, Jyoti? No question.
Urmil, Do you have a question, Ramilji?
No, I wanted to know the fourth one, which you have already now explained, the exact relationship with the outside, objects and fields.
Yeah, exact relationship, even when you are contacting through your senses. Sometimes we forget that. We get so lost in the contact, we forget the relationship. Staying alert. Staying alert all the time.
I will try to have examples. Like you said, outside there's a car and you have to know the relation with the car. Of course, it's my car and I have to drive it here and there and everywhere. So that's my relationship with the car. Other people like to keep it polished and clean and never take it out of the garage, and that's their relationship with the car.
Exactly.
But when in real life, I'm not always analyzing all these four, or maybe at subconscious level I am, but consciously at every step, Nidhavi, my intellectual capacity or my inner strength is not always thinking like that.
We should. And in order to do this, we'll slow down. And slowing down is a good thing. Because otherwise, if we are running so fast in this life of ours, where are we going? Don't I always tell you, these days, the life is like a rat race. And even if you win in the rat race, still you are a rat. Right? What is the hurry? Because in this hurry, we forget the real goal of life. So we got to just slow down a little. Remember these. Heighten our Medhavi Shakti, where you'll never forget who you are. So even when we are leaving this body, we will not forget who we are. We need to.
The simple answer every time without using my analytical capacity would be, I'm part of God.
Yeah, part of God. Yeah, part of God. Just always remember that you are part of God. When we remember we are part of God, there shouldn't be any anxiety. Outcome of that is, if you remember, hey, I am part of God. And what is God? Everywhere. Blissful, joyful, beautiful, loving. That is God. And I am part of that. Why do I get agitated? Why do I get disturbed? Why do I feel so fearful? Why do I get so jealous? Because if we can truly remember that, then we should be on top of this world. Okay. So now, Manny, if you can, you want to sing or you want to play something?